when did you decide to run for city alderman and start that path towards, and why? Why? I don't know. And you did this before social media, right?
Oh, yeah.
You did this before Facebook.
2012, right?
Right
So
now,
we had MySpace is what we had at the time, all right?
Everybody is an expert politician on social media.
That's right.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Why Do You Call Bolivar Home? And today's kind of a treat for not only you all, but for myself too, because not very often, Chris, I don't know this, not very often do I get to interview somebody that maybe I kind of grew up with, but also knew maybe a little bit more than some of the others that I've had a chance to interview. We've learned a lot of history of the people in Bolivar, but today I have State Representative Chris Warwick here from Warwick Electric. So how you doing?
I'm doing great, Matt. Thanks for being on. Thanks for us being able to do this together. Looking forward to this conversation. I've been watching a lot of your different episodes so far and been really intriguing, and it's good to learn about the different people that you've had on so far.
It's interesting, even though, we've lived here for decades upon decades, how much we still learn by just sitting down and listening to somebody talk, seeing people in the community but really just spending time. I don't know. I've learned a lot of the history of Bolivar at the same time. I'm sure maybe you have.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that really kind of started that right out of high school, learning. I'm sure we'll get more into that aspect of things, but right after I graduated high school, went directly to work for Polk County Electric. And if anybody knows Jack Glendinning, they know the historical aspect of things that he knew. And so you're absolutely right. You can read that stuff in books and things, but it's not nearly the same as when you get to sit down and have the conversation about it.
I remember I was about to do one with Bill Bob Kallenbach, again, somebody that I've known forever, but never really sat down with. And I was talking to Mark Stevens, and Mark Stevens said, you may as well just put his interview in the Smithsonian. Like, that guy has story upon story, and he likes to tell them, and that's fun. So we're going to get into Chris's story today. And really, you call Bolivar home now, but it's not where you started out. So maybe take us, where'd you start out and what brought you to Bolivar in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born in 1978, so many years ago.
The 1900s.
Right, exactly. But in a town in Illinois, right across the Mississippi from St. Louis, called Alton, Illinois. And so I was born there. My parents, we lived there. Both were in nursing at that time. And anyway, I began about 7 years old, 7 years old. My parents divorced. My mother had made the decision that it would be best for my sister and I to live with my father. And so that's what we did. So we would stay with my father growing up. We moved around for his career aspect because he was a registered nurse. He was one of the first actual Missouri PIC teams. So when they would do IVs back in the day when they really started taking off, my father was one of the leads on that. So anyway, he did some things in that nature, but then started looking for different places. He wasn't real thrilled with the St. Louis area, just in his conservative mindset, and we started moving and looking for something else. So he moved us down. We actually got to Lebanon in about, I think it was 1988. I went to school there 1 year for sixth grade. It was a single school. Sixth grade was the only thing in that building.
Wow.
So yeah, that was kind of unique. So I was there for a full year, and then he decided, because he'd got a position at Citizens Memorial Hospital. And so at that point, he had been driving back and forth, and he was working nights, and those early mornings driving into the sun just gets to a person. And so he's like, we're just going to move to Bolivar, and Bolivar's where we're going to be for a while. Yeah. So anyway, I met a lot of different people. We actually moved right in next door to John and Joy Rothsteiner, who also most people know now, Nathan Rothsteiner, who is actually, I believe, a social studies history teacher, American history teacher here at the high school.
Tennis coach,
tennis coach. And so we lived next door to them for a couple years. I really got to know Jason really well. So seventh grade really is when the Warwicks moved to Bolivar. And so I believe that's when we met, in the seventh grade. My very first person that I ever met when walking in for the first day of school was actually Justin Ballard. And so we
Familiar
actually
name.
hit that, right? That's a familiar name, right? Yeah. So we hit it off real close, him and Chris Sharp. And so the three of us, as you remember, we had the mile, right? We'd walk up and down the hallway and rotate around. I mean, we were cruising the halls in those days.
Which is now the intermediate school.
Yeah.
And, I've had the opportunity to substitute teach for fifth grade several times. I enjoy it. It's at our old middle school, now currently intermediate school. There's so many different wings, just a testament to how Bolivar has grown. Like, I swear,
Totally.
I sound old talking to those students. I'm like, let me tell you,
When this was school,
where we're standing right now, this was a field. You don't even know, right? It's all grass. But
absolutely.
you talked about CMH as well. Man, I can't tell you how many times CMH has popped up into these interviews throughout all of these different folks. I mean, again, it's a draw. I hear a couple of different reasons people come to Bolivar in the first place. CMH is a draw, one of those things, and about to be even more. And I'm sure you can talk to that a little bit as well. Or SBU. SBU seems to be people come here to go to college, and then they fall in love with the community or the town, and they just never leave. And so for you, it seems like that CMH.
Yeah, that was so that's the connection for the Warwicks. But overall, then moving on into high school, building connections there with everybody. I wasn't in middle school, didn't play sports. I was still trying to just understand the process of learning, right? Because I had moved, but prior to that, we had moved about every year,
right?
I had been in a lot of different schools, and so at that time, I was even struggling through some education aspect of reading and really having a good study habit, things like that. So my grades weren't always that great. But then finally, in 8th grade, Coach Potts came to talk to all the boys and say, "Hey, we're looking for football players and stuff." And I was like, that was kind of intriguing to me. I was like, I think I might try that.
Had you never played football before?
I had not played football before then. So I then, went out for freshman team, got on, enjoyed that, stayed on, went into my sophomore year. Really enjoyed it. Our freshman year, right, was the big year that Bolivar Lance is leading everybody to the state championship, and that was a good time. I remember being on the tail of that, being on the bandwagon, excited about it. So, but then our sophomore year, right, he's still leading us. We get to, what was that? Was it quarterfinals, or I think it was
Chillicothe?
Chillicothe. Yeah, quarterfinals there. And that game, I got to go in that game. I was like super excited. I got like 2 plays out of the whole thing. I can't remember if it was Heath Hopkins or Shane Hampton got hurt. I don't remember. It's been so long ago. Somebody got hurt for a down or equipment failure or something. Yeah. Right. And so I'm like, Potts is like, Warwick. And so here I go running out there, and I'm like, holy crap, and so enjoyed it, had a couple downs, I like to talk about that. I'm sure I did absolutely nothing.
We can do a whole other segment
right about football.
Yeah. I remember because I was Lance's backup quarterback,
right?
And their defense was tough. I think there was a Mizzou kid that was their line was huge. I remember Lance got up one time slowly and limping and kind of dazed, and the coach grabbed my shoulder pad, and I did not want to go. If they're doing that, I didn't say no. Fortunately, Lance shook it off, and he was like, okay, because I would have gone.
Sure, absolutely. I
don't know what that would have looked like. Anyway, so, so the educational part, the athletic part, I think ties right into the educational part too. And so you had some experience with that. So at that point, let's say you're in your sophomore year at that point, what did you want to do? Like, were you starting to make plans afterwards?
So I was still coasting, right? I was still trying to learn the process. I was enjoying playing football. I had some aspirations, but nothing that I'd just been like, this is my path, right? So really, we'll just go ahead and, sophomore year was also the year Jody and I got together.
Okay, I was going to ask that.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit more about that. But, there's always the check yes or no where the guy sends the letter. I like to say that for sure, she actually, and she'll confess to this, she actually sent the letter to me.
Oh, yeah.
You want to go out, check yes or no.
This is when you had to talk to people like in person or handwritten. Like there was no social media.
No social media. Yeah, we weren't texting each other saying, absolutely. So anyway, Jody and I got together our sophomore year. And then, so pathway of education and stuff, I was still trying to figure things out. Our senior year, I was Rob Ross, Justin Ballard, Caleb Mayberry, myself, right? We're all captains of the football team. And I'm sitting in advanced math with Miss Smashy trying to knock out a test. After class, she's like, Chris, you got to get this test done, right?
Yeah.
you need this. And she's like, after the test is over, she sets me down. She's like, Chris, what do you want to do after high school? And I'm like, I think either highway patrol or electrical. I think I said my grandfather had taught me a lot about electrical from the shop area that he had, and we
What
messed
did he
with
have?
things. So, so he didn't have a shop. So it's a shed. He just did some stuff on the side, but he worked in a glass mill where he retired from, and so he had learned some things from there and just talked about electrical and stuff and that type of thing. So, anyway, so that kind of I had those two paths that interest me. And then shop class also, I had enjoyment in that. Schrader, right? So he was our 7th and 8th grade shop teacher. And then in my freshman and sophomore year, Klaus, I believe, is who we had.
Oh.
So anyway, I enjoyed some of the electrical aspects of what I did there. So anyway, told her that, and she said, okay. And so, but I just thought I was just expressing what I did, but she went out. She had a really good friend who had a husband who was an electrician, Polk County Electric, Jim Faulkner. Most people know everybody around about Jim Faulkner. And Miss Mashie had talked to his wife, Carol. And so that senior year, I got an interview with Jack Glendenning. I want to say it was on into the second semester of our senior year. Can't remember the date. All I do remember, though, is that Jack said, okay, well, can you be here basically the day after graduation? I said, absolutely. Sign me up, right?
Yeah.
So I went in and started working for him. And so that really cattled me into the electrical career that I have now. And so it's been a good occupation for me. We've had a lot of good success. We've had a lot of setbacks, right?
Yeah.
There's been things that I didn't intend, and the things were going to go the way they have. There's been a lot of good, a lot of bad, but that's how the businesses grow. And so, I worked for Polk County Electric for just about a year, a little over. I had been assigned and worked underneath Mike Wood, another name a lot of people know around here, Mike Wood Electric. So I worked for him after he had left for about 6 to 12 weeks before I left Polk County and went to work for him. And so I became his right-hand man there at Wood Electric. And so
how many years into it by this time are you?
So I'm maybe right about a year,
because it's
pretty
a process
early
to become an electrician, right? Don't you? You were an apprentice, or
yes,
for quite a while, or?
Correct. And so in Bolivar at that time, really, we had a lot of qualified people, but to actually have had either a journeyman or master license, I believe maybe only Dave Glendenning at the time maybe had his journeyman license. He may have had his master. I don't know what his full qualifications were, but for me, I wasn't able. The path that I was shown and taught was that you go 4 years and you get your journeyman. So you work for 4 years and take some educational classes, and then you can test for your journeyman. And that's how it is today. So I hire some people today. I try to get them on that path of being able in 4 years to be able to receive their journeyman testing. And so then that's another 4 years while working under a master. So a total of 8 years is what you're trying to get to the point of having a master's certificate. Wow. Well, for me, it didn't work out that way really, because I just didn't have those qualifications above me to be able to use. So for me, I wound up, just working and actually starting my own business in 2005 with just some experience level. And so I had to be really careful about what communities I could go into and work, because some communities require certifications, licensings, different things of that nature. Other places don't. So for the longest time, I was just making sure I wasn't going into places that required that would get me in trouble, right? So so that's difficult when you're bidding, right?
Yeah.
You really have to know and search. Either call and talk to the authority, whether that be a city clerk or whether that be a city administrator or whether that be a mayor or whether that be a code official, right? Call somebody and find out what is required first before you can start bidding stuff. Yeah. So that's some of the stuff that I kind of learned through and worked through. But then in 2016, the state had put in a electrical contractor licensing certificate that you could apply for. Well, by that time I had at that time 10 years in, plus my previous, what was that? Another 20 years.
Wow.
So 10 years there, and then
we're about to have our 30th high school reunion. So I don't know.
That does help a little bit. So 30 years. So 10 years before I started my business, and then another 10 years. So a total of 20 years by that time of work experience that I had that I could show to a municipality like Springfield or Kansas City, and which I did Kansas City, and went and tested for their test for their master electrician.
Cool.
So that in 16 is what really catalyzed, what put me as a certified, qualified individual who'd been tested. So
let me ask you, what was it about? Did you ever have any idea or thought of, if we're talking about Bolivar specifically, did you ever have any idea or thought of moving to a different community to start your business, or you were like, no, this is where we're gonna?
Yeah, no, Bolivar. So I'm glad you asked that question, because there was probably our junior or senior year, my dad was getting an itch to move. And so he's like, I think we're going to move to Arkansas. And I'm like, I'm not moving from Bolivar.
I think you were going to move.
I've got some friends here, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to crash on a couch somewhere. So, which that kind of, my sister and I both were that way. We're like, we really like this community. We have our friends here. We really don't want to start over again. And so, by that time, we both had been here about 5 years, and really just enjoyed the community. We just enjoyed everybody in our classes. So he took that in consideration and decided, nah, you know what, this is good for you guys. Let's just stay here.
Okay.
So so that kept us there. And so for me, there has never been any other place. Yeah. For me, with, like I said earlier, with all of my moving and jumping from school to school to school and not really being able to make connections, and that's, I enjoy relationships. I enjoy visiting with people. I enjoy having that, because I think I probably missed out on a lot of that in my earlier years of life. And so I take a lot of there's a lot of bonding there that I really enjoy. Yeah. So I do that. And so a lot of what I do today is that same thing. So I just, enjoy visiting with people, talking about things, really flushing out different ideas. And so with all that, that's really what kind of put me in the process of even kind of getting into the elected official position.
So let me follow the timeline, because I definitely want to get there. How far after high school did you and Jody get married?
Year after high school.
So
we graduated.
Your sons have followed kind of that same path, and I don't know if that's the thing that you're.
We're not trying. I mean, that wasn't something we were like going after. That wasn't like a plan, So Jody and I got together our sophomore year in high school. Yeah. We would go out on dates and stuff, but sophomore year of high school, we were both the babies of the class, right? So a June and an August birth dates. And so everybody else was driving, and her and I weren't. So it was always, if we were going to go out, we had to go out with her parents. All right. So we were double dating with her parents. But honestly, I enjoyed that a lot, because I really got to know them. They got to know me. Jody and I really got to enjoy those times. When it was all said and done with, when I did go to Mark and Debbie, when I went to Mark specifically and asked for Jody's hand in marriage, and Debbie said, well, she's either going to marry or we're going to adopt you. So, I mean, that was the kind of relationship that we had built over those years. Yeah. So for us, we enjoyed those type of dating aspects. And so that's what I always would teach the boys, right? I was like, listen, you're not dating to date. You're dating to find. I mean, if that's the path you think you need, if you believe you need a spouse, then dating should be you're finding the person that you're going to marry.
Yeah, my wife says the same thing.
Yeah,
like, don't mess around with just dating people.
Yeah, I mean, have friends, go out with people, enjoy that, but don't start the romantic relationship portion of that. Become friends, and then if that transpires to something great, but if it's not, so I always taught my boys more of a courtship type and same type of thing. I said, you know, you guys are either going to come to our house or you're going to go to their parents' house, and there's supervision, and there's just aspects there that I think is very important, especially for our youth, that they get some consistency, and they're being overlooked and that nature. So anyway, so that's how my boys then both went into that same aspect, right? So I mean, I guess I taught them well there. So both of them within just about a year, maybe 18 months at most after graduating high school, they both got married.
Yeah,
so
that's right. And they're both here.
So Christian is here in town. They actually just bought their first house this past December, so that's pretty exciting. But Zach and Abby have moved to Springfield.
Oh, okay.
So they're living in Springfield.
Yeah.
They had done that with just some transitional aspects for both them. Abby went to cosmetology school, and it just made sense for them to be closer to there. For her to be able to travel was a little bit difficult, you know. And so they moved there about a year and a half ago now.
Okay.
And so, but it's still close, right? So, and
that's right.
they've got a grandbaby for us too. So
that's
Jody's beating the path down there whenever she can.
That's easier. My grandbaby's in North Carolina, so we can video call every now and again.
That's difficult. I've talked to some other grandparents. You know, it's not. I feel pretty blessed to be able to have them this close.
That's right.
And Christian with his daughter, our granddaughter, right here in town. Probably can't see it in the video, but I've got my playpen right over here.
We shuffled it off the screen there. But
so there's times where he comes in like, sitter can't watch, and so Grandpa's here to take in. Which makes Jody really kind of upset. She's like, wait a minute, that's Grandma's plans.
Yeah. Of course, Jody works for the school.
That's right.
All right. She's been in education for a while. Let's your daughters though, right? Mm-hmm. So just filled out. You talked about Zach and Christian, but
absolutely. So we've got 4 kids total. So we have Christian and Zach. So Christian's our oldest, Zach's our second. Then we have Lydia. Lydia is 15. She's a cheerleader. She's been on the cheer team since her freshman year, but she's been ready to be a cheerleader since she was about 2 years old. So Joe, the best thing, and I love to razz Jody about this portion of things, because she's like, none of my girls are ever going to be a cheerleader, right? I'm not going to be a cheer mom. And I'm like, never say never.
Right.
So here she is. So, but you know, we were hoping both boys enjoyed playing soccer. So I did a lot of soccer coaching for them in their youth. And then we moved them into middle school, where they were coached by, at that time it was Coach Fast was still coaching middle school too. So they did they didn't have a middle school team. We were still parent coaching that.
Right.
It's freshman year is when Coach Fast started taking them. But then the girls, we thought we were pushing Lydia to soccer, because I was teaching her how to flip throw and everything, and she was kind of getting the hang of it. But she's like, I don't like running, Dad. I don't like running. Right? That's a whole part of the game. And so I'm like, okay. And we're like, what do you want to do? She's like, I really want to cheer. And so Joe Wooderson's daughter. Lizzie was was one night at a basketball game at Bolivar, was cheering, and Lydia was down there beside him, and she was cheering with them and stuff. And Lizzie come over and asked, can we stun her? Can we make her fly? And we're like, don't drop her.
Yeah.
And so she received the opportunity to do that, and that was like, I mean, she was hooked. She's like, that's what I want to do. That's what I'm doing. I want to be a cheerleader. Yeah. And so we're pretty proud of her. She's done a lot of hard work. We had her in gymnastics at Tumbles since she did a mommy and me class when she was like 2 years old. And so Jody and her went through that process, and she just really we did a lot of gymnastic competitions and stuff. And so she really enjoys the flipping and stuff. And so she does, if you ever are at any of the games, you'll probably see her out there flipping around on the floor. And so she likes that. And this past weekend, she actually got an opportunity to fly again.
Oh, cool.
So she,
Sounds
the biggest, right? It does, but she loves it. She had the biggest smile on her face. So she's our first girl.
Okay.
But then we have Julia. Julia is our last. She's 11 years old. She dance is her thing. So she loves dancing, and so that's what we do.
Yeah.
And so she dances and enjoys it. She does all of her competitions. We've been up to Kansas Speedway a couple times.
Yeah.
She performed out there. And
So Jody she gets to be a cheer mom and a dance mom.
mom, right? It's great. It's the best thing ever. I love twerking that around a little bit.
Well, it's funny. My off-screen producer, my wife, Maria, just showed me she wrote me a little note to show me there, and it says TikTok dances. You do those on social media. Is that where the dances come into play?
Well, actually, Julia doesn't get me to do those much as Lydia does. Lydia loves the TikTok dances, but but either one of them, Jody will tell you, this is where she gigs me. She's like, those girls can ask you to do anything. And I'm like, you're right.
Yeah.
I am.
What's kind of what is rewarding, and I kind of hear you saying it without saying it, and I totally get it. But I think as parents, sometimes we just want to offer opportunities to our kids that maybe we didn't have. And you were talking about, I moved around, I didn't really have friends, I missed out on this and that. It seems like, man, your kids were active in all the things, being able to, and I don't know if they recognize maybe the blessing that is also, I don't know if my kids recognize that either, but being able to kind of plant and develop those relationships and plug into different things. And
we've talked, so for Jody and my background, right, we're a little bit different, right? She came from a full household, married. Mom and dad was married up until her mom passed away about 6 years ago now, right?
Uh-huh.
And so and I admired that a lot within that, watching that while we were dating and everything. So I wanted to try to emulate that with our family when that time came. So that's what we've tried to do. We would definitely get a lot of wisdom from Mark and Debbie as we were raising our kids. And so, so I enjoy making sure that our kids have every opportunity that maybe I didn't have. I always like to tell them, I'm like, they've not lived like I had lived at times. I had lived in some mobile home parks that were probably pretty questionable at times.
Yeah.
And so, and then some apartment complexes that, this is a story I haven't told very much, but I was probably 8-9 years old. And I can remember one night waking up to flashing lights out in the parking lot, not really knowing what was going on. Come to find out, there was a domestic violence issue across from so there was 3 apartment complexes. We lived in, we'll say the east side, and the one on the west side of us, basically the same apartment, same exact spot, was a domestic violence, and the husband had shot his wife.
Wow.
And so that, having that type of issue, and those are type of things that my father was like, you know what, this isn't what I want to raise my kids in. And so I appreciated that. And so those type of things, and that was one of many different examples of the lifestyle that I was being raised under.
Yeah.
And everybody has circumstances that forms them and directs them in their life. And that was one of those. And so anyway, so with that said, we talk to our kids about those things, try to help them recognize that not everybody has this type of lifestyle.
Right.
And we don't have, there's times where my kids kind of think that we're pretty well off. No, we just got a lot of debt.
Maria and I went to El Rodeo the other night, and our 11-year-old daughter, she's like, we're just going to eat, and we're going to go eat at El Rodeo. We're bringing back something. And she's like, okay. And the next message I get through Messenger, they don't have phones or anything like that, through kids' Messenger though, is would you like our order? And I'm like, for kids, man, I don't know if they recognize, okay, what would you like to eat at the restaurant? And it's just, I don't know, spoiled, privileged, or just sometimes we have to knock them down a peg.
Right.
Just be like, no, you can have whatever's left over in the fridge.
Exactly.
Have tonight. But it is a blessing to be able to kind of look for opportunities to, I don't know, bless your kids, and for you, it's not I'll direct it back to you, but hey, man, you guys worked for it. Jody sounds like she's been there since day one of you building this place where we are, right?
Absolutely.
But what was it? When did you decide to run for city alderman and start that path towards, and why? Why? I don't know. And you did this before social media, right?
Oh yeah.
You did this before Facebook. 'Cause right now,
2012, right?
right
So
now,
we had MySpace is what we had at the time. All right.
Everybody is an expert politician on social media right now. And so you did this at a time whenever that wasn't, I'm sure there was scrutiny, but boy, it feels like...
Oh, it's tough now. But you get thick skin, right? A lot of people, it's part of it. And it was that way. Unfortunately, I think we had that probably some. It was probably a little more tailored. It wasn't so freedom. I love the freedom of speech. Don't get me wrong. I think we need to make sure that we don't ever hinder that aspect of things. But, we had news outlets, even news media on TV and stuff, but that was all still filtered. Today with social media,
oh man, yeah,
let it roll. It's everywhere. Whatever. If you have an opinion, have at it.
Right.
And so great. I'm glad people are able to express their opinions. But yeah, during that time, 2012, I did not. So
that's when you decided to run for alderman.
I decided to run for alderman.
What was it that made you want to do it? Was there like an issue? Because sometimes there's an alderman. And I've worked with lots of different cities, and I remember being in a city. I won't say the name of the city, but I remember this alderman won the vote, and he was a local trash man, garbage man, and he wanted to clean up the city. That was why he ran, because he was a garbage man that wanted to clean up the city. Well, then the next thing you know, I was at his first meeting where he gets sworn in and approved, and now, 3 minutes later, they're voting on things, and he's like, I just wanted to clean up the city. What is all this? And now you're exposed to all of these different things. So what was your thing that you're like, this has to change?
Yeah. So
unless it was a person.
No, it was the swimming pool.
Oh, okay.
At the time. So it had not opened. We had the rec center swimming pool, okay. Not the old swimming pool. Okay. So I had kind of started, that kind of piqued my attention and really started making me kind of look at local politics. I will kind of reverse back a little bit. In 2001 is when Christian was born. But Jody was pregnant, what was that? 10 months in, 11, or no, excuse me. It's only 9-month pregnancy. She didn't go more than that. Right. But anyway, so about in September, where I was going with this was September 11th, right? Jody's pregnant. And her and I can remember sitting on the edge of our bed. We had a TV at that time in our room and watching things that were going on days after, and just really kind of paying attention more to politics and where we were as a world. And I remember everybody being mad, and I remember everybody just we came together for a while, but then all of a sudden we started becoming very upset. And so with that, it really put me into kind of watching more of the world politics and just local, and kind of then leading me to kind of watch a little bit more locally. So Christian's born on through 2005. I start my business. I can remember kind of the same thing, her and I sitting. When I left Wood Electric in 2003, 2004, I had went to work for a national company, CB Richard Ellis.
Oh.
And so I had worked for them for that stint, but in the same time, I had individuals calling me on the side and saying, hey, can you do this little project for us? Can you do this? The people that I had made connections with, right? Kind of going back to that aspect of I enjoyed talking with people and making those connections. Well, with that, I had moved forward, and Jody was like, I was working all day doing the maintenance for CB Richard Ellis, which is all of the region's banks around Southwest Missouri. I was maintaining and taking care of all those commercial projects. And she was kind of like, you're going to have to make a decision. And I had already kind of got, I got disciplined, but it's not disciplined with the company like you would think, like I was doing something wrong, although they said it was wrong. I was working too fast and making everybody else look bad.
Yeah.
So I was very detail oriented. My main supervisor came to me and said, hey, we're getting some pressure from corporate. We need you to kind of take a step back a little bit. I'm like, I'm 26 years old. What do you mean? I'm out here trying to do my best so I can move up the ladder. I mean, okay, if I'm too fast, where can I go so that I can do more? And there just wasn't that because I was in maintenance, and I didn't have, I had a high school degree, but I didn't have any college aspect of life. So they're like, well, this is just kind of where you're going to need to be. We're just asking you, we're very happy what you're doing. Just slow down.
Just tone it down a little.
And so I'm like, okay. And so I was like, so if I get everything done, what is required of me? And they're like, well, just be within 30 minutes of a bank. And I'm like, I can do that. So I started doing some stuff on the side. I was salary. All I had to do, again, was be within 30 minutes of a bank so that if somebody needed something, I could be there to help. So that's really kind of how I was doing these side jobs. Jody was like, hey, all right, you're still burning it both ends. We got to make a decision here. And so I'm like, well, let's just go. I think she was thinking that I would just stay at the safe side and just enjoy the check coming in weekly. And I was like, nah, I'm a little bit more of a risk taker. I think we're going to kind of lay it all out here. So I started the business. So anyway, with all that said, watching that politics, I was kind of paying attention to that. Watched the local politics. The swimming pool came up for a vote. And it was like, well, the vote, I felt really the ballot language was just like, do you want a new swimming pool?
Yeah.
Is what I really felt. And I mean, for me, I'm like, who's going to say, no, we don't want a new swimming pool? I mean, we've been having problems, been talking about the old swimming pool. It was leaking. They were spending about $50,000 a year just on maintenance on it. And so they're like, let's build a new pool. Well, I never really ever seen the prints to it. I never really understood what was the.
I can't wait till this conversation hits social media.
I know, right? It's a whole new store, right? But let me just say, the pool was already decided before me. Let's just make sure that caveat comes out.
Why isn't it open during the winter time?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, because of cost, just like the reason why the summer pool that we had was decided to do away with. But anyway, with all that said, that kind of is what catalyzed. I'm like, I think we need a little bit more clear minds.
So you ran for Alderman
in 2012 off the swimming pool.
Did you get voted in right off the bat?
Yeah. So my first race was a 3-man race. I won that vote.
What ward?
Ward 4.
Ward 4. You won by 7 votes?
7 votes out of a 3-man race, me and 2 other guys.
Wow.
So the incumbent, another gentleman, and myself. But I mean, that whole spring, because the municipal elections are in April, that whole spring, my boys and I, because Saturdays and Sundays, if we weren't practicing soccer, I was like, boys, you're coming with me. We're going to knock doors.
I was going to say, you were doing.
And so we were knocking doors all over Ward 4 and go back to the aspect, enjoy talking with people. I remember several constituents say, like, come on in, sit down with me. And so I came in, I would sit down and I would visit with them, talk about, where I'd been, what my plans were, what I was doing with my boys. And so I think all of that, gave them that good understanding of who I was and what was going on in my life and why it was important that I was running. And I believe it was also a point in time where we hadn't seen, so that was 2012, right? So I was 30. Yeah. I was 30 years old, a little over 30. And so it was just an opportunity that I felt convicted about and wanted to make sure I got involved. And so we weren't seeing a lot of young folks. I think me and Darren Crowder, a lot of people might know Darren from SBU, Southwest Baptist Unity, or his wife even, who's the interior decorator. Yeah. And so the Crowders were good. So him and I sat next to each other my first year on the board. He was I was Ward 4, he was Ward 3. And so anyway.
Who was the mayor at the time?
John Best, that was the mayor at the time. So, yeah. And so anyway, that kind of spurred me into that first day. You kind of were alluding to it, the trash man. That was a difficult night. We stayed up, if I remember correctly, at least till midnight that night. I didn't realize the financial crisis the city was in. I had the one thing, that we're not going to make a bad decision like the pool again.
Yeah.
And that night, finding out that the city had only about little around $90,000 in the bank to try to make payroll for over 100 people. Those numbers don't add up, folks.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you could do $1,000 per person for a week, those numbers don't work.
Yeah.
So we had to make some hard decisions. I didn't like what decisions we had to make, but to write the city, that was the option we had before us. So anyway, that's an eye opener in itself. Like, holy crap. My goal is like, now I'm like, and so in some instances, I had some good relationships there that kind of got severed a little bit.
Right.
And not because I wanted them to. I mean, it's just the circumstances that were before us. Yeah. And when you're trying to look to see what needs to happen, unfortunately, there's decisions that are always made that affects everybody.
Yeah. What's hard?
So that was a really hard night, and that really made me question what I was doing. Yeah. I mean, the first night on the job. But I felt confident in the group of people I was working with. I felt confident in we were going to make Bolivar even better than what it had been. I've never thought Bolivar wasn't a good place. I've always felt Bolivar was the best place in Missouri to raise a family, grow a business, and just retire to. And so from that point on, my ultimate goal was to try to figure out what we needed to do that was going to be the best outcome for all of the citizens of Bolivar.
Yeah. So how many terms as alderman did you serve before you decided like it's time to take the next step as mayor?
Yeah, that's an interesting backstory.
Was that your decision, or were people kind of saying, hey, you should?
Well, I mean, yeah. So I never set out. My intent was never, and none of this was like, I'm looking for the next level, right? Mm-hmm. My intent was to do what I could do and to be the best I could be for Bolivar. And so one night we were sitting at the city. We were having some new department heads introduced to the city of Bolivar. And there was two department heads that were male, and there was one department head that was female. And that night when they were being introduced, the mayor at the time had introduced the credentials of the department heads and their credentials, the male. And when the female came and asked, they give credentials there. It was unfortunate that he talked more about looks and the number of kids she had than her credentials.
I couldn't imagine being in the room. It's like,
everybody's, it was like, what do you do?
What are you doing?
So that night I decided that something was going to have to change. And so really that was really the catalyst to.
So then you decided to run for mayor.
To run for mayor that preceding April. So,
okay.
But yeah. And so.
Did you win that first?
Yeah, I won that. Yeah, pretty significantly.
Okay.
So.
And what year was that?
17.
2017.
Okay. So I had really had 3 terms. And so for 2 of those terms, I was mayor pro tem.
Okay.
So my first term, obviously just learning the ropes and everything. The second term, I then became mayor pro tem, and then had that for 2 terms, and then I went to mayor.
Okay.
So, because that gave me some opportunities to fill in when the current mayor at the time wasn't available, had to step out. So I was able to get some experience there running and sharing the seat.
So let me ask you this. As mayor, what were some of the things that you were most proud of?
Yeah.
And maybe what was one of the things that, man, you wish could have gotten done, but just didn't get done, if you have any of those too.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot. Right. So I was the mayor through COVID. So that that really kind of makes it difficult. I think any leadership at that point in time, really it was difficult for anybody, right? Because you're still just trying to look out for the best people. To start off with, as mayor, I entered where the city had recovered somewhat from the financial crisis that I entered in with. And so the city had a surplus of about $1.2 million at that time in my first year, my first term as mayor.
Okay.
And but we had also just lost, we were at the end of our 3-year SAFER grant, which was what allowed the city of Bolivar to move from a volunteer fire department to a full-time fire department. And so, again, that was one of the times where the city was kind of like, we've got to make some decisions here. We're spending a lot of money still on the youth sports and the pool. But we want to make sure that we keep our citizens safe with the fire department. And so we were going to have to, that first budget term, we had to use that 1.2, to use to pay payroll for firefighters. And so we did that. We were trying to figure out other ways that, what was going to do. So that surplus quickly went away real quick.
Yeah.
And so we started getting hammered by DNR and EPA in that first year of my term, or that first term, let me just put it that way. And so because of the wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah.
There was a lot of decisions we were trying to make. We had been doing things up until that point. We've been trying to band-aid things and try to make the wastewater treatment center work. The thing about it, capacity-wise, that a lot of people may not or may know, it was able to, that the forefathers had thought about it, and they were like, we need to make sure that we were able to facilitate of about a 30,000 population. So it wasn't about, the wastewater treatment plant being too small, but it was about all the pipes coming into it. So we were doing a lot of trying to reline a lot of the sewer pipes, because a lot of stormwater was coming into it, which would flood out the wastewater. And that's where EPA was getting onto us, because then you would have that raw sewage that would fall out into the creek.
Yeah.
And so that's problematic. And so although we were able to contain that and make sure that wasn't happening nearly as much as it had in the past, we were still getting dinged at times about it. And so we were looking to do, in that first term, we needed to make some type of decision on how we were going to fund a large capital project down there to be able to contain this. We had already taken care of and added ultraviolet ray lights and everything to take care of any of the bacteria. We had some storage facilities that was fixed. We widened the ditches of the actual reservoirs and things. So we had done stuff to try to help that, but DNR was like, we need more. So we went out for proposals to engineering to try to figure out what we needed to do. When that all came back in, we were looking at about a $19 million project. And so I went to the Board of Aldermen at the time and said, listen, we're going to have to raise rates here to be able to go after some type of either lease or loan or bond to be able to cover the debt on this. And so when I talked to them about that, I got pushback, and they equated at the time increased rates to votes, was what several of them talked to me about. And for me, I was like, this is a business decision.
Right.
This isn't about votes. If to do the right thing, and that's how I've always been, to do the right thing, it may cost me votes, right? But the overall aspect is it going to be the best moving forward? And so that's how I look at things. I've been fortunate to serve in all my capacity as elected officials, but if I'm only looking at whether or not I'm going to get reelected, if that's what my decisions are off of, I shouldn't be here. Yeah. Constituents do not need me in this position. Yeah. Right. So that's how I kind of worked off of that. And so so you have to be as a chairman of any committee, a chairman of a city, which is what the mayor is actually the only authority you really have, because you can't vote in the city of Bolivar as mayor unless there's a tie that you have to break. You have no real substantial power other than being able to set the agenda, or you can set the direction and you can set tone. And so with that information, I was like, well, we've got to look for a different route because this isn't good. This isn't good for our citizens. This isn't good for our ratepayers. So I was reading one night an article online in regards to wastewater treatment plants, and there had been, and I wish I kept it. There's things that you're like, man, I should have kept that. And so it talked about the aspect of public utilities selling to private institutions because they have the background, they have the experience, they have the staff on hand, which we had great staff who could do the operations. Yeah. But the planning side, we were always hiring out. And with some of the state laws that we have, you don't get the opportunity to just kind of lay out what you want. You basically go out for proposals for qualifications. Yeah. And so those who have had the background in wastewater come in and they say, these are our qualifications, but it never, you don't get to see any dollars what that's going to do. So you pick who you think is the best qualifications. Well, we did all that, facilitated the aspect of getting those engineer drawings back and came back with that $19 million. And I was like, wow, how do we get around this? And so we wound up going out to a private, after reading that article, I went to the city administrator at the time and said, what do you think of this? And she was like, I don't know. Let me read this. And so she read it. We vetted some stuff. We went and talked to a couple other communities, and then just really sat down and started talking with a couple utilities to see who was going to be willing to work with the city of Bolivar. And so with that said, I mean, we settled, and the proposals came back, and Liberty came back with a really good opportunity for the city of Bolivar. $23.5 million to take the burden off of the city as a whole. Because what I think people don't realize at that time was how much the city was subsidizing it with taxpayer dollars, right? From what I have learned about municipal utilities is they're called an enterprise fund, right? And they in themselves should be able to facilitate their own revenue to be able to generate and take care of itself without bringing in taxpayer dollars. But that's not what we had been doing. Yeah. We had been using capital dollars and general fund to be able to prop up an enterprise fund. Yeah. And it's just not right. So with all that said, we brought this before the board. Looked really good. At that time, we had $11.5 million in debt that we were trying to facilitate through either lease purchases. And again, we're still just barely making ends meet every year with the budget. And so this was an opportunity that the board said, let's continue down this road. And so that's what we did. So we wound up selling it, paid off all the debt with that $23.5 million. I was maintain the aspect of us not using the principal dollars from the sale of the proceeds from the sale. So basically took care of our debt. What was left over, we put into CDs and bonds and started facilitating the interest rates over that process. So those interests, or not interest rates, the interest the interest dollars that were received off that principal to be able to help the budget. Yeah. So those were some great, those were good opportunities that we had that I felt, very comfortable in expressing, as I believe they were a great opportunity for the for Bolivar. Now, with that said, because I know people are be like, well, that's the worst thing that has happened since, right? There are decisions we make that you don't know what the overall, what's going to happen afterwards, right? So I know right now people talk about Liberty's billing and everything and that process, and it's absolutely horrid. There's no doubt about that. They have to fix that issue that they're dealing with right now. I've sat down with them now as a state representative. I've sat down with the Public Service Commission. And so these are things that are being addressed and being worked on. And it's been detrimental to them as a business. I mean, they've put themselves in a really bad spot, right? And they recognize that, right? Yeah. I mean, they're trying to fix this as fast as they humanly possible as they can. Yeah. They bought some bad software that they're dealing with, and nightmare. It really is. Yeah. And but you can't. I mean, at this point, it's unfortunately, I think the city of Bolivar has done everything they possibly can to help right that. They withstood some of the PSC public hearings. I think those things were needed to be able to facilitate a correction. Now, with that said, I mean, you're talking about a company's business who they recognize that's our revenue stream. If we don't get this corrected, we've got serious issues. So they understand the need to get it fixed too. It's just a large animal. I mean, it's a big elephant, and then people are like, well, it's been going on for 2 years. Absolutely. But if you take into consideration what has happened, right? When you have data and you try to transfer that data into software that winds up scrambling it, how do I, as a business, know what's truly scrambled?
Right.
You don't.
You're trusting
and so for a lot of us who I had not received, I think over this whole time, I've got 6 properties. Out of all those properties, I've had 2 bad billing cycles.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people have it a lot worse than that.
Right.
I mean, it's absolutely been, and I feel for them, and I'm sorry they've had to deal with that. But some of it also is that the company didn't know where bills were going and how. I mean, it was the worst thing a business could deal with.
Yeah.
Not justifying it whatsoever.
No.
Just saying the process of how they could try to recover that data is difficult. And so sometimes it takes, you know what, I've now received 3 billings. I've got to call in and see what's going on.
Yeah.
At which point in time, now they're like, okay, we've got an issue here. Now we can start addressing this issue.
Yeah.
But I mean, the number of customers they have in Southwest Missouri that we're dealing with that.
It's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
When I think people elect public officials, you're electing the character, the integrity of the person, that you're trusting that person to then go make decisions on your behalf, right? And you're trusting that process there. And I think, I've known you for a long time, and your character and your integrity, I mean, you're great. I think you're great. So I think you're on par with that. I think also, we don't anticipate there's going to be a problem. We're making the best decision that we possibly can at that time with the information that we have. And unfortunately, there's a lot of meetings that you're in that a lot of people who, throughout the community are not in, right? So you're maybe, inundated with information, and you're having to vet the information, and then you're comparing that information with what, might work for, you're not thinking about you're thinking about the whole, right? And so it's, man, and this is, the initial question of like, why did you do that? And not only that, for the mayor position of Bolivar, like, you've turned it up a notch. Like, fast forward just so state representative, is it because you feel like you can make a bigger impact then? Is that what we're going for? Or you're still in the business you're running?
Yeah, I'm still running the
business here.
Absolutely.
And, but you've created a good team of people behind you that now you can maybe step away a little bit more if you need to, because you're in session right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
In Jeff City as well. And so what caused you to do that? Was it there's a thing again, like you did, like the pool thing? There's been different aspects there. But so one of the things was there was the opportunity. That was one. But I was always taught, you want to leave things better than the way you found them. So I felt that I was at the pinnacle at the city of Bolivar. I felt there was a lot of good that I had accomplished here. Went through COVID. One of the things that we did during that time was, and the Board of Aldermen were great during that time. They're like, you're leading us. How do you want to pursue this? We've got mandates being tossed out here. Governor's doing this here. We're going to support you in whatever you want to do. And for me, I'm like, it's all about personal responsibility. And I said, I believe we all have the freedoms to do what we wish to do. I mean, I believe that's what the Constitution grants to each of us. And so as long as we're not hurting our fellow man in what we're doing, then there's the liberty there for us to act on. And so during that time, I made sure that we facilitated not closing things down. Now, the state had some mandates out that required places to close down. But as the city of Bolivar, I remember putting out a letter to the editor, pleading to everybody to be cautious, to respect your fellow man, to use masks when you're within proximity, because we didn't know. It was early in that time. I didn't know what this
What if this was going to be a fast-acting virus that was going to come and go, or if we were going to be dealt with it for decades to come? So you as a leader, you have to take all that in consideration, right? How is that going to facilitate? So making those decisions, working with the different agencies, working at this with some of the state. While I was mayor, I was also part of the municipal league, and there was a group of Missouri Mayors United.
Okay.
And so I would go to those meetings and stuff, and got to meet with a lot of different mayors across the state. So again, building those relationships there. And then this opportunity of state representative, Mike Stevens was terming out. I had someone come to me and say, Chris, have you ever thought about maybe stepping into the role of state representative? And I said, really hadn't crossed my mind. I mean, I'm doing pretty good here, but I also feel that I'm at a pinnacle point of my career as mayor here in Bolivar. We'll see how long it holds, but I like to tote the aspect that I have been known for being the youngest mayor of Bolivar.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun, right? But with all that said, it was, again, I looked for the aspect of where am I needed? Somebody coming to me and saying, hey, we think you would be great at this position. Mm-hmm. I took that into consideration, looked at where I was and thought, well, if you don't ask, or if you don't go to try to find out, you're never going to know the answer.
Yeah.
So I decided, I asked a few people who I thought might run, and they said, no, it's not the right time for us. We would support you. And I said, great. So I went out and started that campaign. So, I told you the first time, right? I had a 3-man campaign that I was running in. Well, this time for state representative was a 4-man. Okay. So there was me and 3 other people. And so luckily with that one, though, I came out with, I think it was like 58% of the vote out of a 4-man race. Yeah. That's pretty significant. Pretty good. Yeah. I mean, and so that I felt pretty good about. But overall, again, I'm looking to do what I can for our constituents here in the 128th district. 128th district is all of Polk County. Mm-hmm. And a sliver of southern Hickory County. So basically, I like to say Highway 54, with the exception of Wheatland. Okay. So Wheatland is actually into the north part of Hickory County, but everything else is south and is in the 128th. And so I've enjoyed getting to know the people of Hickory County. I was just up yesterday meeting with the Missouri University's extension office up there, and so got to meet Allison Gunther's team of people. She's doing a great job up there, so that's great. I know I've worked a lot with the Polk County Extension Office. They did a lot of different researches for City of Bolivar while I was mayor. So at this point, that's what I'm doing. I'm able now to connect as state representative a lot of different people to one another, just because I've had that experience. So last Friday, so a week ago now, I was invited and attended Missouri State University's 73rd annual military ball. So Jody and I went up there, had a great dinner, enjoyed listening and seeing the accolades of many of the soldiers that are participating in the ROTC program there at MSU. And at the end, Jody and I were leaving and had someone come up to us. Never met him my entire life, didn't know the gentleman. Introduced himself, said, hey, I'm thinking about running for elected position. Do you have any advice? And I said, well, what position are you running for? And he said, well, I think I'm going to go for Senate. I said, wow. I said, have you ran for any elected position before? And he said, no, I've helped with some other campaigns and stuff. And I said, that's a big elephant, man. Yeah. That is a huge elephant that you're jumping in. I said, you're asking me for some advice. I said, listen, I would not that this is the right way. I'm not saying this is the exact way you have to go about doing it, but I tell you, you really need to probably get elected on a local level and really set up a base for yourself and kind of get to know the process and start building relationships. Because really in this business, it's what it's about. It's about building relationships, knowing the person across the table who you may disagree with, right? You may be very, very passionate, both of you, very passionate about your stances on something. but you need to be able to step away from that table and then go out afterwards and enjoy an evening and talk about your families and know how, even continue that conversation. But why are you so passionate about it? Why is it that this makes it such a big deal that we need to change state law in order for this to get adjusted, right? And so for me, this has been a great opportunity for me to really expand those relationships and really sit down with people all across the state of Missouri, right? Not just, I'm looking out for the 128th, right? But then to learn about what's happening up in District 1 or over in the Northeast about District 7 or 8, that's important to me because what I thought, I've got several committees since been assigned to me. I'm on budget committee, I'm on utilities committee, I'm on a tax reform committee. And then that was I was on a sub-pro for budget during my first session. But this year, actually during the summer, the Speaker of the House assigned me to property tax and then redistricting committees. And so the property tax committee has been very enlightening to me in the fact that what my thought process is for what Bolivar has done, because I think it's important, and I've touted this across the state when I go and talk about when we've been in these property tax committees, that Bolivar has only been generating revenue off of sales tax. And a lot of people still, even people that might be watching this, even people who are living their life daily, may think the city of Bolivar has a property tax because they pay their property tax every year. But that is only county and school property taxes, and then some special road districts and some fire districts. That the city of Bolivar is not. They've been zero for over 30 plus years on property tax. So when people think about that, it's important. So I have expressed that as an opportunity for other communities, but then not realize, Bolivar's, we look at Bolivar and we're like, well, this is a small rural area, right? But when you step out and really start looking at some other small rural areas, the amount of retail sales that we have in the city of Bolivar outpace many other rural areas immensely. And so you have to take that into consideration then when you're taking in some of this aspect of cutting property tax, cutting personal property tax. Although we want to make sure, just as the city of Bolivar was while I was running as mayor and making sure that we were trying to make sure we had fiscally conservative budgets year after year, the state has to do that, but all these other communities have to do that as well. And so some communities have larger budgets, some have smaller budgets, but a lot of that deals with the aspect of what services they are providing. And so, if you want, and if you're happy living in a community that just has a volunteer fire department that's going to come and make sure the fire doesn't spread any farther than the walls of the house, volunteer fire department, they do a great job of that, because the bad thing is the time is not on their side. One thing that I learned as mayor is the aspect of a fire doubles every 30 seconds, and so timing is of the essence in that situation. And so those are things that are important for people to recognize. So what kind of service do you want? If the volunteer fire department is all you want, then lower taxes is what you're going to pay. If you want a robust department that's going to be able to take care of Walmart burning down, right? Because if Walmart burns down in our community, the amount of food services and the damage that it does to our community as a whole is unrecognizable, right? We've seen it happen in the 90s with Stockton having the tornado that goes through there, right? That significantly changed the course of that city and what was going on over there. It put them behind a lot. Joplin, a large city, huge tornado. Now they've recovered. There's some areas that still haven't though. But again, it all that requires funding, and you have planning, right? You can still, one of the things that I tried to encourage our aldermen here before I left is making the plans and making sure you stick to those plans and making sure there's an avenue and that you always have a surplus, right? Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to zero out your revenues by saying we're paying for all the expenses the citizens want, but not take into consideration the important aspect of having reserves. The state, we're doing that right now with the budget, right? We're looking at the budget right now it's tight. We're having to make some hard decisions. Again, it seems like I just keep stepping into those hard decision spots.
Feels like it's always tight.
It is. It's all. There's always. We've had. So the state has had some very good opportunities. Now, a lot of that came through a lot of federal dollars that was being pumped into the situation because of COVID. And so a lot of these cuts are coming because those dollars are going away. There's been a lot of federal decisions that have been made here in the last couple of years that is also leading to those cuts. And so we've all got to just like with our own personal budgets, there's times where circumstances change. We have to reevaluate those budgets, and we have to make cuts where we may have had some extra spending that we probably were just gracious to have at the time, or we were able to, not gracious probably isn't the word, but just able to have at the time.
Yeah.
And so as we're pushing through, learning what areas we're going to cut, and there's some areas that I'm definitely those aren't areas I'm willing to cut in. I mean, our disabled, I want to make sure that they're going to be taken care of. I don't want to see huge cuts, but there's going to have to be some takebacks there. I mean, there's going to have to be some aspects. When we're talking about a $53 billion budget is what the recommendation from the governor is this year. That's significant, and that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. When we start to think about what the budget was prior to COVID, less than $30 billion. So we went almost a third more in what we are spending as a state.
Wow.
And so, that hits the taxpayer. That hits you and my pocketbook. I mean, those are areas that the constituents here that may be watching this recognize that, it is tight.
Yeah.
And I can't give any more. And so that's part of sitting on budget, part of working through that process. I believe that the citizens want me to look at the big picture and say, where do these dollars need to go? Now, I say all that. I wish I should have counted before we got on the call or on the video today, but I think there's probably pushing 30 members on the budget committee.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot of people, right?
A lot of people.
That's a lot of people to try to make these decisions. So we've been sitting. So basically the second day since we've been back in session, we've been listening to departments come and talk about the budget that they've set, the recommendations from the governor. Mm-hmm. These are areas in which, we're listening to, understanding, where they have some opportunities for us to cut back on. But it is. I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to have to make some hard decisions.
This is another reason why I'm glad it's you and not me, because I get to do this. I don't. But I appreciate people like you are there doing that. So, one more question on that, and then I'm going to ask you a different question. But are you trying to go towards governor then? Is that your path?
No.
You thought about it, sure.
No, I haven't. Thank you. I don't know if that's a vote of confidence or what, but I appreciate that. I answer that question.
With the path.
I'm not sure. I don't have any aspirations for that.
Yeah.
That's not an area that I've really looked at very hard. I'm very happy with what I'm doing right now. We've got term limits as a state representative. We get a total of 4 terms, 2 years apiece, so 8 years total. So I'm finished. I'm into my second year, my first term. I don't know what the future holds. I mean, my path has always been, what does the Lord and what does our people want? And so if there's opportunities, I'm always willing to take an opportunity to move into a new role.
Okay.
And so whatever that looks like, what everybody, and that's kind of even what I've said to the Speaker of the House, current, and the possible next speakers. I've talked with them, and I'm a team player. I want to be where I'm useful.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to do good in what I'm doing there.
Okay.
And so whatever that looks like, I have aspirations, right? I mean, I got set goals, but nothing that, my biggest goal, I think, is just to do what's next.
Yeah.
And so right now, what's next for me is making sure that I'm facilitating the needs of our community here in Polk and Hickory counties.
So that's not a no. So let me.
One other thing that I've learned in politics is you don't give a yes or no.
Yeah, I get it.
And I hope people can respect that, just because opportunities happen,
I get it.
And it's important.
So let me ask a question then. So you've had a lot of experience in years. As we move to kind of wrap up the conversation, why do you call Bolivar home? What do you think is great about the community? Not only to live, raise a family, open a business, run a business, politically, like what is it about Bolivar?
I have found Bolivar very open and very willing to accept people. I mean, with the hospital, I mean, people coming in from all out, not just people we've born and raised here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people come in from our community from outside. Southwest Baptist University has brought people in. And for me, it's like the community itself has always been open and friendly, and willing to help wherever they can. I mean, we see that in a lot of our charitable giving, I think. We have a lot of different community churches, community organizations.
Yeah.
And so for me, I mean, how could you not want to live in a community that's willing to help somebody else?
Yeah.
And so for me, that's what I think is really important about Bolivar, is that I do believe we're a very strong faith-based community. We really look and understand what God has put before us. We're blessed with the things that we have. I mean, you don't get a Southwest Baptist University by mistake.
Yeah.
That was when you go and look at the history on how that was formed. I mean, that was a decision that was made by forefathers looking for the future, right? That if anybody doesn't know that story, I recommend them looking it up and understanding that Bolivar and Lebanon were casting basically negotiation tactics to be able to receive the university. Bolivar won out on that. And so that was a great opportunity, that brought more people to Bolivar than we would have ever
Generations.
thought.
Generations now.
I mean, since 1878,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a significant time frame.
Yeah.
And so Bolivar has grown due to that. CMH has come to be known because of that.
Yeah.
A lot of those same people organized and facilitated, or families, may not even have been organized or individual people. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, that's a couple of 100 years difference in time, or 100 years difference in time.
Yeah.
But the ideas that Bolivar has put forth. I mean, so here's the thing. I found this very interesting on my first, when I started going to the Capitol a little bit more during my first campaign. There's a street in Jefferson City. It's called Bolivar Road.
Mm-hmm.
Bolivar here, we recognize Bolivar is not just Missouri. I mean, we understand Bolivar. There's different Bolivars around the United States. But to have, for me, it really kind of brought the message home for me that our capital has a street, not a state, right? They have states named throughout the city as well. But there is a street in the capital, or in the capital city, Jefferson City, that sits 4 blocks from off the Capitol. Bolivar Road sits.
Yeah,
I think that's significant.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot to be known of what Bolivar has brought forth for our state. Obviously, we just had our governor, the 57th governor, Mike Parson, was from Hickory County, Bolivar. Those are roots here. Everybody can have their say on what the goods and bads. All of us have good and bad things that come along. But here's the thing about it is, Bolivar has been good about making sure that Bolivar is heard in the state of Missouri.
Yeah.
And so I think that's important for us as a community to recognize. And so I'm happy to have the will of the people behind me and saying, we want to make sure we're heard. And that's what I want to do. Sometimes though, I may make some decisions that doesn't seem like the right decision at the time, but I just know that I've sat through a lot of different meetings and I'm trying to look out for the best for not only ourselves, but the state as a whole.
Right.
There's 163 House members. All of them have different unique aspects throughout the state. And even though we want to make sure Bolivar and Polk County and Hickory County are getting everything they possibly can, in either legislation or whether it's through financing or however that looks, we still have to take in consideration all those other districts as well.
Yeah.
And so, as I talked about earlier, that's why it's important for us to have those good relationships, to be able to facilitate talking with one another, communicating about why does that not work in your district. It's these are great times. The media as a whole sometimes puts a bad light, a bad spin on the two different aisles that we have at the moment. But I will tell you, there are some good people with good ideas on the other side of the aisle that's looking out for their communities just as we are looking out for ours. And for me, it's coming to an agreement that facilitates the need of the whole, not just one specific or one small minute detail.
Got to try to find that
we've got to find the common ground.
Yeah.
And I think we've lost. I think in some instances, we've lost that. On a political level. But again, a lot of that is lost, I think, sometimes by what is being portrayed through the media. Sound bites. And they
don't live your life through a headline.
Right. That is a lot of what we because we're so busy in life. You're busy, I'm busy, the constituents are busy. And so we're trying to grab whatever information we can at the time. And there are people who are using the opportunity to make those sound bites be what they be and make
people AI.
Yeah, now it's AI. Yeah, we can go into that legislation. There's a lot. There's a lot going on in that area, and so So we can talk about that a little bit later. But for why Bolivar is home for me is I believe in our people. I believe our people are great people who are looking out for one another. We're not Bolivar. I have never felt as a selfish community, and so. For us to be able to portray that at the state level, and I try really hard when I'm at the Capitol or when I'm in my different groups meeting with people that they understand that I'm not. I'm portraying what Bolivar is.
Right.
We are a community willing to help, willing to be a team player, willing to facilitate whatever's next for our state.
Well, I knew your answer would be somewhere around there, and I think that again that's why we voted you into that role there, and I'm happy that you're representing Bolivar in that way, and I know a lot of the constituents are as well. So, anything else you want to get into before I kind of wrap it up and do an outro?
I just, raising family here has been the best reward ever, to have two grandkids come from my two oldest boys and have my daughters being able to meet and enjoy different aspects of Bolivar life. You can't beat it.
Yeah,
so, can't beat it. And you've had your own family that you've been in different communities, right?
In different communities.
I think it's important. And what I always find very interesting to kind of wrap this up is that how many people in our class had moved away and then have come back. I think that says a lot for Bolivar too. Yeah. When you come back home, that means you've explored some stuff and realized, we had it pretty good.
Yeah,
we have it pretty good in Bolivar.
Yeah, and doing great things from our class there. We maybe we should do a big video like this of just highlighting the things that we're doing from our class that impact the community. Maybe I think that might sound like
I think honestly what really has done it for all of us is that we were the first graduating class from the new high school. Right?
Yeah, and I also call it the new high school, even though it's 30 years old.
Right, I know.
Anyway, so it's a great conversation. I knew it would be, and it was good catching up with you there too. And so, Chris just made a great argument for why Bolivar is a great place to call home, not only to live, but to do business and also impact, looking for ways to impact. And you have echoed what a lot of people say, it's the people, it's the community, it's the heart of the people. And so if you're looking to buy or sell in the Bolivar area, then I'm your guy, right? Matt Griswold, Neighborhood Real Estate. Till next time.